Hey, Fanboy Nation.
This is your pal Daffy Duck, and you're watching.
We're watching
Fanboy.
Fanboy,
fanboy, etc.
Fanboy Nation.
I assume Tom.
This woman right here has been seen on Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman. She's been in a bunch of movies. She was on Ellen with Nitro and Ellen DeGeneres, which is a very funny story that you'll have to share at some point. American Gladiator, bodybuilder. You can catch her on her podcast, Chillin' with Ice. Lori Fetrick. Ice, how are you today?
I'm very good. How are you doing today?
Listen, I am great. As you know, I'm also a buddy of Dallas. You guys are far closer friends than I am, especially with the story that you guys shared on your podcast, which I'm not going to repeat.
You listened to that one?
I listened to that one. I was like, yeah, that sounds like something Dallas would share with everybody.
Oh my God. We had so much fun together. I mean, her and I are like sisters. It's awesome.
You know, before we get too deep into this, you know, I've heard complaints from other fans, and neither documentary, the one that you're a part of with Muscles Mayhem, the unauthorized American Gladiator story, and then the ESPN 30 for 30, no one really mentioned the gladiators that we've lost. Like, I got to meet Hawk several years ago before his passing. Obviously, you know, we didn't use a Ouija board. Great guy. You know, I never got to meet Siren. I heard she was a sweetheart. You know, Atlas is gone, and unfortunately Thunder just passed away, and Gold just passed away of cancer. So, like, you know, we got to pay respect to everybody that has gone before us.
Oh, absolutely. And as a matter of fact, on my podcast, I did an ESPN review. And before I even started the review, excuse me, we went back and I paid tribute to the fallen gladiators that neither documentary did, which I'll be honest, I have no idea why. I don't know why they wouldn't just do that. I mean, we've lost quite a few, which is kind of like really kind of bizarre.
Yeah, unfortunately, Siren was at her own hands, which is very sad. Hawk had a medical condition. Thunder had a medical condition. And, you know, his stems from just all sorts of stuff that once one thing triggers, everything goes downhill from there. So we'll talk about how you keep healthy, you know.
Yeah, and let's go. I mean, we can go to Thunder for a second. That is on when I was speaking about Thunder on my review. The one thing they never mentioned in the documentary, which was really sad because I actually did get to speak with her wife, his wife and everything. And it was, they never said what a businessman he was, a mentor. He rescued animals. I mean, this guy was really amazing. I know that when we were on tour, he was driving behind the tour bus in his own van with his girlfriend at the time because he was creating a product line. You know, so he was working 8 hours a day while we were out, you know, either partying or, you know, training, whatever it was. Thunder was an amazing man. And it was so sad how they did not even remotely portray that for him.
You know, it was interesting because the way the documentary showed it was as if he had one of those injuries that Malibu and Sonny had in the first half of season 1, and that just triggered all this. But his health issues came long after leaving Gladiators.
Yeah, they did. And at the same time, they made it look as though that he was some kind of big drug addict. You know, and that wasn't the case either. Apparently 2 weeks before they did that interview, he actually, I think it was either he broke his hip or his shoulder. I'm not quite sure. I can't remember at this time, but that's why he looks so like, you know, unfortunately debilitated. It was 2 weeks before they came and aired, you know, that thing. It wasn't necessarily from the Gladiator show. So yeah, it's very unfortunate. I mean, you're right. It snowballs, you know, with all the injuries.
You know, before we get too deep into everything else, you know, obviously we want to talk about you.
Are we not enough?
Was that not deep yet, you know? But I do want to go back to the Ellen episode, which ends up making a highlighted moment in your documentary, Muscles and Mayhem on Netflix, you know, where Nitro is cheating on Ellen with you. And you make reference that he was unnecessary to the episode itself. But let's be honest, you know, I mean, financially, yes, I cheat on Ellen, you know, or I cheat on you with Ellen. Appearance wise, it'd be the other way around. Like, it was like, look, I got a sugar mama over here, you know the deal. But
yeah, exactly.
so take us through that episode, because that was a fun throwback, and not too many people even remember the Ellen tie-in, along with everything else that you guys have been tied into.
Oh my God, we were tied into so many television shows. I mean, it was just unbelievable. My very first, and I'll go into Ellen in a second, my very first television show that I did as a gladiator was Who's the Boss? And it's interesting because when Who's the Boss, it's kind of like it had a birthday party and they wanted, gladiators to show up. And so that was kind of like my very first, introduction to television after Gladiators. And then it just went on, and we did so many guest appearances on so many television shows. But Ellen was special. Ellen was definitely a special because that was at the height of her show, as a matter of fact, and that was just so much fun. So going through that, when I read the script and I had to it showed that me and Nitro had to kiss and make out, I literally just started laughing. I was like, are you serious? I got to kiss Nitro. So she was a great sport on the show. She was so much fun. But at the same time, it was the timing. If you think about it, back then, Ellen hadn't come out, I hadn't come out. And so everybody,
it was kind of like an open secret that everyone just kind of winked at.
Exactly. It was an open secret, while we're, on set and stuff like that. So that's what kind of made it fun as well. It did.
I told Dallas this. I was like, I seems like the girl that you want to hang with, but she'll steal your girlfriend.
Never. Come on. It's not that bad.
Listen, you put
Unless
yourself
your
on.
Hot. No, I'm kidding.
Hey, you put yourself on blast in the documentary, like, hey, they were all hitting on her, but at the end of the night, so.
It was fun. I mean, I don't have, people, I always ask this question on my podcast when I'm interviewing the Gladiators. I was like, if you could do it all over again, would you change anything? And every one of us say, absolutely no way. We would do it exactly the same way through and through.
Well, the tour bus seemed like it was a lot of fun, but it had to have been daunting on your nerves at some point. There's 8 of you with one toilet. That's got to be a nightmare.
It's funny you go there. I didn't even think about that, to be honest with you. We weren't on the tour bus really that long, to be honest with you. It sounded and it made it look like we were on the tour bus for a very long time. Probably out of the 6 months we were on the tour bus, there was maybe a handful of times that we were on it longer than 6 hours. So, most of the time we did the show, we got on the bus, we traveled for 2-3 hours, and we showed up at the next city and, rolled into the hotel. And that's kind of how it was. But the longer trips on the tour bus, yeah, that was a little daunting, just because I think that if you were tired from the show and everybody was in the front of the bus and they were hyped up and they were partying, you tried to go in the very back of the bus to chill and shut the door. I mean, that's where a little conflict every once in a while came into play. So
let's be honest, it was about as soundproof as an accordion door.
There you go. The one thing about the tour bus that kind of freaked me out, to be honest with you, is I am a little claustrophobic. And when I saw the bunks, and I saw there was 6 inches from my head to the top of the bunk, I was like, ooh, I don't know about this. This is kind of creepy. So I had a problem crawling into the bunks. The only time that I did that is we all discovered on the tour, which is hysterical, Tylenol PM. We discovered it because we realized that'll knock your ass out so fast and you won't care if you're in a claustrophobic place or not.
That stuff puts you in a coma.
Yes, it does. That was like, remember back in the day, I don't know if you're old enough, but back in the day when they used to make NyQuil.
Yeah, with the coughing, what was it? John Panette said the coughing, sniffling, sneezing. How the hell did I end up on my kitchen floor medicine?
Yes. Yeah. And then there was another comedian said, you know why they make a plastic bottle? Because after you take your swig and if you fall over, the bottle won't break.
Right. Yeah.
That's kind of like, you're right. That's how Tylenol PM is.
Yeah.
But the tour was really amazing. It was just so much fun, to be honest with you. I spoke in the documentary a lot about that tour, but a lot of it landed up on the cutting room floor. I guess because of the fact that all that footage on the tour was mine. Every bit of it. I was the only one, of course, that's why I was behind the camera all the time. I was the only one that had the handheld camera that videotaped the entire tour.
So you're the blackmail artist behind all this.
Yes, I am. So I had to apologize to Laser when they actually showed him on the bus and he was in his skivvies and he was dancing. He goes, "Where did they get that?" And I went like this. It might have been on my camera.
And also the stuff that you caught with him and Zap while they had their fling on the road.
I know. And it's so funny. Nobody ever talked about that until the documentary came out. And I was just like, uh-oh. You
You did review the ESPN documentary, and I got to watch that. And you're right. It was the Johnny Ferrero documentary. And it's interesting how he went from Elvis impersonator to somewhat TV guru with the first incarnation of the show to kind of dressing and tanning like former President Trump. Like, it seems that he's never really had his own persona.
So whether or not people hate me or not, so be it. I don't even want to give Johnny credit or even props to even, what's the word I'm looking for? Compare himself to Trump. I personally like Trump. I think he's a dick when it comes to like the way he speaks. He just needs to be quiet. He does, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, Johnny, I can't even compare him. He's in another class of his own. I mean, if you want to take the arrogance and stuff like that and kind of compare him to the Trump kind of thing, but nope, not, there's no comparison whatsoever. I compare Johnny to a used car salesman. And I don't compare Trump to that. You know, whether or not people hate me or not, I'm just an American through and through. And I just, it is what it is. But Johnny it's like he's in a class of his own.
It just seems that his personas over the year have been caricatures of somebody else's persona, and it's never really been who he is. And I don't think he really reveals who he really is.
I don't even know if he knows who he really is. How's that? I mean, he's extremely narcissistic. So therefore, I mean, how do you categorize those type of people? Who knows?
And Dan Carr seems like a very forgiving person with everything that happened. Like,
no, I don't think so. I don't think I would have. It would be, I don't. Okay. So what I've heard from, Dallas, and Dallas is tight with him, as a matter of fact, is I think on camera, it was a forgiven thing, but I don't think he's really forgiven him, to be honest with you. I think it was all for show.
How did it fall apart with you guys with the ESPN 30 for 30 versus the Netflix one? Because it seemed like you guys were all set at one point, sans contract, that it was a verbal agreement. You guys were all going to do this ESPN one. And then all of a sudden, Ben ends up with something totally different. And I like Ben's documentary because it's interesting how, this originally started as some like blue collar games and then ends up on TV in the middle of a union strike, which just the irony is not lost on me on this.
Well, it's funny because I heard your interview with Ben, and he actually kind of, in a way, gave us props at the same time when you asked him that question. But I have to say that, I mean, everybody knows this. I was the facilitator when it came to that contract. And when Johnny called all of us and said, "Hey, they're going to do a documentary about me," we were like, "Really? You?" Because they don't really know who you are. We know it's going to be about the American Gladiators. Okay. So, after the whole long pitch and everything, and he got on the phone, and the last sentence was, "So how much does it pay?" "Oh, there's no pay." I kind of laughed again and just went, "Well, here we go again. You're going to make a nice little paycheck and we're going to get shit." So basically what happened is he called all the gladiators and did the same thing. So we get together. And it's funny because the fact that when people try to pull us out and single us out, because when you're a team, that's just what people do. So they'll pull one out and say, oh, well, such and such said this, such and such said this. What people don't understand is we're a whole team. Over the last 30 years, if somebody says, don't call Laser, I'm going to call Laser in 2 seconds when I hang up and go, hey, by the way. And when Johnny hung up with everybody, we all got together like that and went, okay, so what are you guys going to do? So basically what I said is, I said, let me tell you guys something. If you decide to sign this contract and you're sitting on this couch, by the way, we didn't know anything about Netflix at the time. I said, we're sitting on that couch and they hypothetically sell it to Netflix, shown across the world and millions of people, and they're going to make bank. And you're sitting on that couch and you can't even make your mortgage. How are you going to feel? You're going to be pissed off all over again. So what we decided to do is, we got together and said, okay, so we'll shoot their sizzle reel. We're going to sign a little contract. We had a lawyer that you cannot use any of this footage whatsoever until you negotiate a contract with us. You can go out and sell it, but until you come back with a contract, that's all you have is footage that you could sell, but you cannot use. So they went out and they were like, that's cool. So they did a bunch of little sizzle reels and stuff. But the problem was they never kept in communication with us. 6 months went by, no phone call, no email, no nothing. So we just thought the project was dead. And that's when Nitro came along and said, hey, by the way, I've been pitching a story to Netflix and they want it. They want to do a documentary. And basically all of us went, oh, and then he goes like this, and by the way, they're going to pay us all. So, I mean, there wasn't even a question there. We all just went, sign us up, let's do it. So again, gathered the team. But there was a few gladiators that opted to still stay with ESPN. Saber Red Williams, basically he stayed with ESPN because I think what they did is he told me he wanted his own documentary. So basically they might've promised him his own documentary. I don't know, but that's why he stayed with them. Him and Nitro have a little beef as well. So therefore he was like, I ain't doing anything that Nitro is involved in. So he was out, and then, Malibu, we called Malibu and said, hey, we're doing Netflix. And for some reason, he felt extremely loyal to Johnny. So he stayed. Dallas at that point in time, I'm not quite sure what was happening, but as you see, they only got Dallas and Elektra. But that's basically what happened.
And I think they got Viper too.
Is we have Netflix and they got Viper. Well, we were more concentrating on the core team. I call it A-list and B-list. So we're concentrating more on the A-list gladiators, for the Netflix. So that's kind of how it happened. They dropped the ball. And if they hadn't dropped the ball, to be quite honest with you, we might have ended up on ESPN. So unfortunately, that's what happens.
And fortunately, you end up on Netflix with the #1 docuseries.
Oh my God, it's #1 so far. We're still #1 this week. So, hopefully we can ride this wave out. It'd be a great thing.
I didn't get to go to the original incarnation of the American Gladiators as a kid because I couldn't drive yet. And I went to the 2008 version.
Okay.
And, as much as of a Hulkamaniac I was, I still got the Hulk Hogan workout set from when I was a kid. I still got pieces of it. As much as I love Layla Ali as a boxer,
yeah.
They treated it as if, it's the Rams, since we're in Southern California, that you're worried about. And the players are rotational, not similar to the UFC or WWE, where yes, WWE is the brand, UFC is the brand, but okay, Hulk Hogan left and now Bret Hart came in, and Bret Hart left and then The Rock came in, and then The Rock left and Roman Reigns came in. And if they had done that with you guys, and like what Dan has said several times, paid you the percentage for merchandising, and at bare minimum scale, the show would still be on the air, and you would have created new people and personalities as you cycled out into retirement.
Well, you're absolutely 100% with that. And I was actually speaking with somebody earlier. We were talking about Samuel Goldwyn, and somebody said, oh my God, I wish I knew you at the time back then. they go, because I'm very aware of Sam Goldwyn, and I would have told you right up front, do not even try to negotiate. He's the biggest mogul, greediest man in Hollywood. His father started Hollywood, and there's that no negotiation on your contract whatsoever. And his son picked up the same exact, kind of, that's how he plays in Hollywood as well. So I think what it really comes down to, what we found out, is it's really too bad that the show got picked up by MGM. Because if MGM didn't pick it up and somebody else picked it up, I think there would have been more negotiating power, and they would have foreseen that, oh my God, this could have continue throughout the years. This can be like 10, 20, 30-year run. Because Nitro was spot on when he said, this is an athletic and a game show. Nobody has ever seen anything like it. And the fans went crazy about it. But I think it boils down to, we were unfortunately with the wrong company.
Which is unfortunate, but it happens a lot.
Exactly.
With everything that's gone on, and I told Nitro this, and I've told everybody this, if it wasn't for American Gladiators, we would have never had Battle Dome, which focused too much on characters, but was essentially American Gladiators light. We would have never had Titan Games, which The Rock hosts, but it's competitors against each other via obstacle courses. And we'd never have not only the Japanese Ninja Warriors, but the American Ninja Warriors as well, which is a glorified eliminator.
100%. Yeah.
So, and then when they try to bring it back, and there's nothing American about it. It's black and gray.
Yeah.
It's a dark studio.
Yeah.
There's fire and water and everything going on that, like, okay, you fell in the pit. How are you going to be in the next game if it's going to take you 20 minutes to dry off that Lycra suit? Because I'm pretty sure they didn't pay for a second one.
No, the production, and you've heard this before, they completely overproduced that show. I actually went and watched a couple of the tapings, and I was backstage with some of the Gladiators. And when I was sitting in the stands watching, I'm the same way. I love Layla Ali as a boxer. Hulk Hogan was an amazing wrestler, and he was kind of cool. But when you put them together, they were just completely the wrong host for the whole thing. Because, I just kept comparing them to Mike Adamle. Mike Adamle never read from a teleprompter. It was all right off his hip. He was like right there. He was an amazing announcer. And when they were reading off the teleprompter, and it took them literally an hour to do an intro that was only 30 seconds, I was just like, oh my God, this is never going to work, And then Gina Carano was amazing. My God, the MMA girl. But then again, it's like, she didn't have to try out. They just went, okay, we want you on the show. She hated doing interviews. You could tell that she hated doing interviews. As a gladiator herself, I think what it was about Gina that I was just kind of like, she wasn't into being a gladiator. She was into being Gina. You know what I mean? It was just like, she was like, okay, it's another job. And
I think that's how they presented it to her.
I guess so, which is really sad. I like to see the characters hyped up, as far as like being a gladiator and really out there wanting to kick ass and have a lot of fun, instead of treating it like, oh, it's just another job. It's like, no. You need to fill the shoes of the original gladiators, and if you can't fill the shoes, go get somebody else who's excited being here, but they overproduced it. The black, the dark, it didn't work. It didn't work at all.
Didn't have the Bill Conti music as well.
Nah, not at all. And NBC just wanted it their own, because everybody's like, we're the original gladiators. Why aren't you guys like either coaches or, have like a third commentator backstage with the gladiators? That might have done a little bit more. But like Dan was saying, he was like a consultant producer, but he was never on camera. So nobody's seen him. So that was another downfall. It's like, if you think about it, all these reunion shows, all these things they're bringing back the originals, whether it be the first or the second episode, to tie them together.
Right.
And it makes sense and it works. Mm-hmm. But when you just go, nope, don't want anything to do with you. I don't know.
But like, even with you guys, you brought in Larry Zonka at one point, to replace Joe Theismann. And it added that sense of legitimacy of here's this hard-nosed Iron Man football, old school, halfback that still, like, I saw a little interview with Zonk the other day, and I'm like, my God, this guy's pushing 80 and still looks like he can get on the field and beat the crap out of somebody.
I love Larry. Larry was awesome.
But it added that legitimacy to the show.
Yeah.
And then, when you put Hulk Hogan in, who, again, I love the Hulkster, but it's that pro wrestling element that detracted from it instead of bringing in, either an Olympic wrestler or an NFL star or a rugby player or something of that sort.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because of the fact the entire time we were doing Gladiators, we were fighting against the entire, oh, are you guys like WWF? Are you fake? We're like, no, we're absolutely real. What you see on camera is like spot. There is no faking this at all. And so all of a sudden we're literally fighting this the entire time we're Gladiators. And all of a sudden they bring in Hulk Hogan. We're like, oh my God.
Right. And it was interesting that they hosted, but they weren't doing play-by-play.
No, Mike Adamle did play-by-play.
No, I mean, for like the new one. It wasn't even Hulk and Layla doing play-by-play. It was some other guy.
Yeah, and that's what it was, just so bizarre how they broke it down. But here's the interesting thing that I'm not quite sure if a lot of people know is the UK version went through the same thing. They changed their colors. They changed from being in an arena of 9,000 people, that's how they shot in front of, down to inside of a studio. So they tried to do it in a studio. And again, that didn't work over there as well. So it is what it is. And I heard they're trying to bring it back again. I have no idea, because of apparently I think it was, oh my God, who's the guy? Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon was supposed to be part of it. And he bought the rights. I heard, this is all hearsay. I heard that he bought the rights and he was doing American Gladiators. And I was kind of excited about that, to be honest with you, because I thought, okay, well, at least I know that there's going to be some kick-ass looking girls then. He'll get that. But at the same time, hopefully he doesn't do it over the top, like overproduce it. And then he got into that whole mix up and they canceled him. I heard, his son or daughter, somebody's taken over. So I don't know where that's landing right now. So I don't even know if it's being remade here. By the way, it's being remade in the UK right now. They've already picked all their Gladiators and they're shooting it, as a matter of fact.
Is there a camaraderie between the American Gladiators and the British Gladiators?
What do you mean? You kind of broke up. Is there?
I said, is there kind of a camaraderie between you and the British ones? Because although you're American, they're British, you're still Gladiators and you still had that, either American or British audience, but it was still essentially the same show.
Oh, 100%. I mean, when we went over to the international show, we all, kind of came together. We became friends. I actually just interviewed Jet, one of the most popular Gladiators over there, on my podcast, which will come up next week. But I mean, it was just such an amazing time going over there. And I asked her this question, and I said, how would you have felt instead of bringing our contenders over there if we took the best Gladiators of the American and the best Gladiators of the British and Australia and South Africa, all these international, and put us up against one another? That would have been a cool show, because it's the best of the best Gladiators. And she started laughing. She's like, oh my God, you guys would have annihilated us. And I'm like, probably, but it would have been a great show.
Before we get to Chilling with Ice and the new podcast that you're hosting, which is phenomenal, by the way, and I love that your girlfriend came up with the name because it's just so fitting.
I know, right? It's amazing.
Sometimes it's the simplicity of it that you're just like, should have thought of this sooner.
I know, right?
Everyone asks you what your favorite event was. No one asks you what event you dreaded.
Yeah, it's funny. Okay, so I'll answer both of those. Obviously, my favorite event was Powerball. Absolutely loved it. I got to tackle for a living, is what I kind of said. I'm also friends with Bob Golick, and he actually said something on his LinkedIn. He goes, oh my God, you guys got to watch this girl. She could tackle some, better than some of our linebackers on the Raiders at the time. And I was just like, laughing about that, but it's kind of like the theme amongst all the gladiators, and that's Human Cannonball. Human Cannonball was the worst event ever. Now, it kind of comes into play with one other event for me, and that would be, I didn't care for the joust too well. However, I loved being in the limelight up on the pedestals, and it was just you and another girl. But I'm sorry, nobody's gonna like getting hit in the head, because you're you're gonna get hit at least once or twice. Somebody's gonna get that shot in. It just does ring your bell. It really does.
You know, the one that I think you heard it when I was talking to Ben, is Skytrack. That would have been the one that freaked me out more than anything.
I never did it. I never did Skytrack. That was one event that I looked up and went, yeah, no, not going to do that one. You know, I think two things. Two things was, we're in California, we have earthquakes. And I thought of that the minute I saw it. I was like, if there's an earthquake and I'm up there, you know, that event and Atmosphere, believe it or not. I was like, that was my question to all the riggers. I said, if there's an earthquake and I'm locked in this thing, because they literally came with like an electric drill, you know, and bolted you into this atmosphere. You know, it wasn't just like a little clip that you could climb out of. To come out and go and pull out the bolts to pull you out of that thing. So, but the other thing about the Skytrack for me was, again, the claustrophobic. You were upside down and there was only this much room. And I don't know, I think I would have felt dizzy or something. I was like, I don't want to do that one.
But like, was there a netting or like the giant pads that they put under you? Or was like, no, it's just the concrete floor.
No, there was nothing underneath us. So what happens if one of those straps break?
Nope, yeah. I'm good.
Right. Thank you. And that's why I never did it.
Yeah.
Never did it. But I would say, you know, the documentary, going back to that for just a moment, I think what that's really doing for a lot of people is bringing back that nostalgic feeling, you know, of like when they were kids and, you know, whether they were building forts or whatever it may be in their backyard. And it's that 90s that people are craving now, that simplicity. Mm-hmm. And I think that's why the documentary is also taking off so well right now. Is I can't tell you how many people are on my social media just going, thank you for sharing. You know, it's like when I was a kid with my dad, you know, they go into the story and everything. So it's just that nostalgic feel that, you know, that they got to bring back and capture on the Netflix version. They could have captured more on the ESPN, but they just didn't go that route.
You know, the interesting thing with the documentary itself was people's kids are now going to YouTube to watch old episodes of American Gladiators. And my friend's kids, who are, you know, I think his oldest is 6 or 7 at this right now. I don't remember if her birthday just happened or if it's coming up. And like, oh my God, you know, this looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And I think we're missing fun.
We are missing fun. We are. I mean, it's so many people are so afraid of doing things and saying things and building things and trying new things, but the fun is taken out. You know, the fun has been taken out of our society, and you're 100% right. Everybody's being canceled left or right, and it's like, whoop, can't do that, can't say this. Oh my God, I'm afraid, you know, and it is, and it sucks. And even like the we were talking about like the health and the safety factor. People say, well, that show would never fly in today's day and age, you know, because of all the safety issues, and you got to comply with this and comply with that. I mean, I remember when they stuck a helmet on our head for Powerball. I was very disappointed. I was just like, are you kidding me? You know, I mean, give me some knee pads and elbow pads and I'm ready to rock.
You know, which is the same thing that we said in school when they started making us wear bike helmets. We're like, really? Do we need these things?
Exactly. You know, so, and that's just, I mean, I'm not saying the danger part of it is the fun part of it, but God, when you start getting so, you know, you can't do this and that's going to be a safety issue and a health issue, they're taking the fun out of everything we do.
Here's the funny thing in making you wear helmets, but not pads, because now the helmet becomes a weapon. And in rugby, they don't wear pads, yet they have far less concussions than football does.
There you go. There you go.
I do want to touch on something else since you mentioned Bob Golick, who I never had a chance to meet, which is sad. But I believe it was in your podcast, you mentioned you went on a date with Bob Golick. What is it like hanging out?
Oh my God, what podcast was that? When was that?
I think this was you were
probably
either
the first or second one.
I think it was the second one. You were talking to your girlfriend. It was you and her. And is that the one? It was one of them. But you were talking about how you went on a date with Bob Golick, and Bob is not a small man.
No,
I'm 6'3", and I know Bob dwarfs me.
Yeah, he's a big guy.
What is it like not only sitting next to Bob Golick and feeling petite, because you're 5'7", so you're not small for a woman,
right?
And then realizing that you have to go to dinner with this man and just watching him eat because he was still in like competition weight.
Sweetest man in the world. I love Bob Golick. As a matter of fact, I have a photo that I sent him because he has a radio show now, and he does his own thing. He goes, "You got to come on my radio show." And I sent him a photo of when my very first year of doing Gladiators, there was something called the Goofy Games in Florida at Disneyland. And so he was there and I was there, and we have a photo together. We were doing some kind of like, promo piece, and it's so cute. But that's where we first met each other, and just the sweetest guy. But I mean, I don't even know if it was really a date. It was more like, hey, do you want to get together for dinner? Kind of thing. And it's like, sure, maybe in his eyes it was a date, maybe in my eyes, I don't know. But I felt like a little kid. That's all I can say. I just felt so small. You're absolutely right. This guy is ginormous, and it was just biggest man I ever went out on a date with. Let's just put it that way.
But what is like dinner with Bob like? It's like, sir, here's the menu. Sure, bring me everything. Like,
bring me everything on it. No, I mean, I'm so used to dealing with gladiators at the same time. I mean, these guys eat like animals, like Tower and everybody. They're just like, they eat. So it wasn't something that I wasn't used to sitting down next to. Let's put it that way.
Okay, so I'm going to start asking these questions, which will probably get you canceled by your other gladiators.
That's all right. Go ahead.
All right. Who is the biggest prick?
Okay.
Male or female, doesn't matter.
I can't say prick.
Okay.
Because I don't think any of them were pricks whatsoever. I asked the same question to all the gladiators, by the way. It's so funny. But my question is like this: who was the biggest drama? Okay, so I would say Nitro was. I can't call him a prick. I can't go there. He wasn't a prick. He was very, very arrogant on the show, and he was that way off the show as well. He was just very sure of himself. Let's put it that way. So he acted that way. And
because I was like, it's probably Turbo, but we haven't heard much.
No, not at all. It's funny you say that. I mean, Turbo was more of a shy kind of dude.
Really? Because he had that like very aloof, it looks like he wanted to take your head off and then just walk away from the camera.
Take your head off. He absolutely did. But behind the scenes, he was very quiet. He was a shy guy. I think that's why he didn't do our documentary. And as a matter of fact, the minute the show ended, he just took off, and he had his horse ranch somewhere and just had really nothing to do with us, So yeah, but I can't call Nitro a prick. There was nobody on our show that was an actual prick,
except according to you, Johnny.
Except Johnny, but he doesn't count as a teammate.
Could you tell us a Siren story?
Which one?
Something about Siren, because she passed away far too young. She took her life. I know it was very difficult for her transitioning, not only from Gladiators, but post bodybuilding and everything else. And, losing her hearing at such a very early age played so much into leading up to this. Is there anything that, that like comes to mind when you think of Siren that just puts a smile on your face?
Oh, I mean, she was just an amazing teammate. She was an amazing athlete as well. We had some great times down in Orlando at the dinner show because she was down there as well. I mean, I remember that we used to go out after the show was over, and we'd all want to go dancing, and she would sit by the speaker because she could hear the bass. Okay, she could hear that and feel it, not hear it, but feel it. I don't know. She kind of had some hearing, but she could feel the bass. And so I remember we used to go out dancing all the time, and she was just, I mean, she was a great girl. She unfortunately, she did battle with her bipolarness, and she battled with being gay at the time. She really did, because Siren, and she was with all these guys that were trying to convince her that she was not gay. And I know that was a big struggle and a battle with her. And so we felt as Gladiators, once the show ended and she left, and we heard that she left her boyfriends and she had a girlfriend and she was happy. We were so happy for her, that she was living her true life at the time. Just Shelley in general, just thinking about her brings a smile to my face, because she was a great athlete and just a wonderful person. She really was. And it's really too bad that she struggled with what she did. I am having one of the contenders on soon. She was also a small gladiator on the tour, Kathy Sasson, on pretty soon, who was literally best friends with Siren. So she's going to tell a lot of Siren stories as well on my podcast.
Okay, so I'm going to be tuning into that one for sure, because I was a huge Siren fan.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So of the girls, who got hit on the most and who got the most numbers?
God, I can't speak for the rest of the Gladiators. I don't know. I mean, I'm sure everybody got hit on like crazy. I mean, think about it. We were such in the limelight at the time that everybody was I think everybody was being hit on equally, just to be honest with you. But I will say this, okay? I'm going to go back and I'm going to talk to Erica, because after I saw the documentary, and she actually said, well, I was hit on by at least 6 other gladiators, females. And I'm thinking in my head going, 6? Who are the 6?
Because we count 3 right now.
I mean, honestly, Shelley wasn't on the tour bus. I was on the tour bus. Storm was on the tour bus. And those are the only 2 that I even remotely know that was gay. I didn't hit on you. And
Wait, who was the other one besides you and Storm?
That's it.
Okay.
On the tour bus. And so that's why I'm just like, 6? I want to find out who her 6 female gladiators are that hit on Diamond.
Well, she did deny the Bob Levy thing.
Well, thank God. I mean,
thank God she denied it, or thank God you think he was making it up?
No, I think he was making it up. I do. I think Bob was making that up. I think it was Bob was hoping that it happened. So on the note of who got hit on the most and who's in the biggest numbers, I mean, everybody got hit on. Everybody got hit on.
I did see a recent picture of Tower, and he is a realtor up in the San Fernando Valley or San Gabriel Valley, somewhere up there.
Yeah, San Fernando Valley up here.
And Tower, I'm sorry, I'm a fan of yours. You need a tailor. You look like Herman Munster in the jacket. Like just big hulking smile in a jacket that just didn't fit quite right, and I was just like,
I know.
If they recast the Munsters, Tower is ready.
Oh my God, you're funny.
Thank you.
He's
just don't get me my ass kicked by him. So
Steve's trying to keep his weight up. I know that he was competing for a little while, but yeah, I mean, he doesn't need to carry around all that muscle anymore. There's nothing good that's going to come out of that right now.
Well, speaking of which, you've all transitioned from bodybuilding and professional sports. It takes its toll. I had so many injuries from wrestling and judo that I gained a boatload of weight, which is not worth carrying. I lost 70 pounds. Let's keep going with all that stuff. You can ask Dallas, because she's seen me before. How do you transition from, that bodybuilder mentality? Because first, before we even get to that, some people don't realize that bodybuilding and powerlifting are not the same structure of sport, because the mind-muscle connection with bodybuilding, you go lighter but closer to failure, rather than heavy and with shorter reps, or I'm sorry, less reps but longer rest period. How do you
go ahead?
No, so how do you transition from that mind-muscle connection of 6 sets to 20-30 reps to now let's just exercise to be healthy?
I never have transitioned. I'm still there. I mean, I don't, and it's funny you talk about 20-30 reps bodybuilder. We don't even go that high. I mean, usually we'll do like I want to say a pyramid type of situation, to where we'll go 15, 12, 10, 8. as far as reps when it comes to bodybuilding. But the difference between, you're right, the bodybuilding mentality versus the powerlifting mentality. The powerlifting is just get as big and as massive and as strong as you possibly can. Bodybuilders, it's like, okay, so how can I fine tune that damn little muscle inside my thigh going up to my groin that is going to show when I actually compete, kind of thing. So we're more, when it comes to bodybuilding, just really very mind muscle conscious. And yes, we still try to go to, I don't want to say complete failure. It's more just working the muscle, so for me, I never really quit ever. I know some of the gladiators have, as far as Zap Gods, she got into yoga and stuff like that, but I wanted to keep my muscle on me as much as possible, because as you get older, I found out it does some really fucked up things, meaning like the muscle detaches from the bone and all these fun, stupid shit things, to where you look at yourself in the mirror and you're just like, oh shit, what happened? I look back on the glass and I'm watching myself and I'm watching my body and I'm like, oh my God, it's just like, I wish that I could go back and really, really appreciate what I looked like at the time. Because as you're older, it's like things change, So I'm still in the gym 5 days a week. I'm still lifting, separating body parts, arms, legs, abs. I'm doing everything I possibly can to not grow old. That's the only thing I can say, eating right, exercising healthy. I mean, everybody knows I have my anti-aging hormone doctor, that I go to all the time. And to be honest with you, that plays a huge role in your muscle connection with your body and how you're aging and how it works. So I never quit. I've never quit so-called. The only thing that I quit is the damn diet that I hated. And now I just try to eat clean.
Right, because I think Ronnie Coleman was the first one that combined like powerlifting with bodybuilding, and that's why so many people want to go like that level of mass monster.
Nah, don't need to be that big. Just like, that's why we tell Steve right now, you don't need to be this big, yeah, but it's interesting because I've noticed as I've gotten older, is I've never been in the position before of, oh shit, I need to kind of eat more, which is weird. I'm not used to that mentality, or even the thought of, oh, I need to eat more. Right. Because sometimes I just get busy and I just don't eat. And that's the problem.
That happens a lot, actually. Or the worst is you haven't eaten all day.
Yes.
And then you come home and it's like 10 o'clock at night. And then you're like, I really shouldn't have dinner and go to bed because this is going to have a huge negative effect on my body. And then you do it and then boom,
It's like, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. Your girlfriend is the one that came up with the name Chilling with Ice.
Yes.
And remind us of her name if that's okay with you.
Oh, April. Her name is April. Yeah.
How long have you and April been together? And like, what is it like? Was like April starstruck or had no idea who you were?
No, we've been together for about 13 years, and I've known April for a very long time. And so that's a whole nother story right there. But she knew me before I was Ice. Let's put it that way. So watching the ride, but now she's here on the ride of, oh, wait a minute, you've become a little relevant again. And people are starting to pay attention to you again. So this part is all new to her,
Well, it being new to her, but like, the relevancy thing is always weird because I know so many people that were always still talking about American Gladiators and how much they love their show, especially those of us, in the younger end of Gen X pre-millennial group.
Yeah.
And so it was always fun for us, but like, what's it like having been recognized at the top of the world to the show getting canceled and you becoming a regular person again, right? And then like, that where it levels off, you're still in the fitness industry, you're a trainer, you're working people out. And then all of a sudden, not only is there one documentary, but there's two that are released in the same month, like 2.5 weeks apart. And then it just goes tick and then boom. Like, what's that like?
I'm taking it all in. It's pretty cool. And it's how do I explain this? It's okay. So like I said, looking back on the show and going, oh my God, I wish I would have really like been present about how my body looked at the time, because it was, I look back and go, it's phenomenal, and why wasn't I more present? So I think what's happening right now is I'm really taking it all in, and I'm really trying to be more present of how it feels, because you can't describe what it felt like back then, because the years have went by and you kind of forget. You forget the feeling of what it was like to be in the limelight and people asking for your autograph and kind of things like that. You do. It's not there. You want to remember, but you just can't get the feeling. So now it's like, okay, now I just want to sit back and I want to feel it, and take it all in and be in the moment. So that's really where I'm at right now.
Is there more of appreciation for you guys at this point? At least from you specifically? Like
100%.
Before it was grind, and now like you can kind of enjoy it.
100%. There's no doubt. Now it's an appreciation of, God, I want to do more. There's no doubt. I want to do more. This is something that I've missed. I love people. I love being in that light of, either being able to inspire someone with, whatever it may be. It's just that whole feeling of, being in the moment and taking it all in and appreciating everything right now, right here today.
So which one of you is most likely to run for office? Let's take Steve out of the equation, because Steve looks like he'll probably run at some point.
Steve's not political enough to run. It's so funny across the board. I mean, it's like I would say,
like Dallas, we know will cause a coup.
Here's what's funny is I would say, and this is something that I don't think too many people know. I would say out of our entire team, there's one Democrat. The rest of the team is pretty much, and here's the thing. I don't think any of us with you, we're not political. We're not political. I've never been political. I'd never paid attention to it. I never considered myself a Republican. I never considered myself a Democrat. We're all like, everybody says, and this is what I agree on, we need a purple party. We need the center party, because there are things on this side, I believe. There are things on this side, I believe. I think that we are pitted against one another. I think it's bullshit. And I think that, I could sit and talk about that all day long. I could talk politics, but I choose not to, because if you do say the wrong thing, people are like, kind of thing. How can you say that? How can you believe that? And blah, just like when I said earlier about Trump, it's like, he's this kind of grabber. I'm sorry, but did we forget about the guy in the office that did something with a cigar and nobody gave a shit about? You know what I mean? And why they jump on that bandwagon all the time, it's just beyond me. It just blows my mind. And it's just, here's the thing. I mean, I think everybody right now is so sick and tired of the politics. I'm so sick. Everybody's sick of the government pitting us against one another. And it's interesting, because that's really what they do. That's how they make their money. That's how they do it. And it's just so sad. And if more people wake up and just realize that, I'm sorry, and I'll say it all day long, government's not on our side. They don't want to take care of us. They want us to, don't even get me started.
But it's interesting.
So running for office, it's like, and pretty much the team can talk about this, believe it or not, behind closed doors. The team can talk about this and it's awesome. But there's one that cannot talk about it with the team. Let's put it that way.
Okay, fair enough. We'll save that for off the record at some point, maybe later on down the road.
Absolutely.
Yeah. No, because I had a conversation like that with somebody and they're like, you're on the other side. I was like, I'm not on anybody's side. I'm on my side.
Exactly. You're not on anybody's side. It's like if you had a middle ground, and then sometimes if you say you want a middle ground, then they automatically go, oh, you're on that side then. It's like, come on.
Which is exactly what happened to me the other day, which I couldn't
stop
laughing.
Yeah, that's my point. So trust me, I'm going to get shit about the whole Trump bullshit, and I don't care. I think people just have to stop caring right now. My God.
Right. They're going to be like, how is this lesbian siding with him?
Thank you. Exactly. I'm supposed to be gay. I'm supposed to be gay. And I'm supposed to be like the whole Democrat, blah, 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 blah. I'm sorry, but okay, I'm going to go here and then you put me on record for this one. I could give a shit. And that is, no, there should not be transgender male and female sports. I'll say it all day long, and I'll stand up there with all the female all the girls saying that's bullshit. And I'm just like, so it's not right. Some of the things out there are completely outrageous, and it's like they want to group me into that because I have a girlfriend. I'm like, nope, count me out. Don't believe in it. Not on your side with this.
It's interesting that it's mostly the non-athletes that are all for it.
Of course. I heard some transgender male, females, not quite sure what they are at the moment, but they were like, it doesn't matter if they were a man because they're not stronger. Really? And here's my thing about this is I actually went up against, and this is me firsthand. We were on tour and there was a little guy. He was a DJ. He's like, I want to joust you. He was probably 5'7". He was maybe 150, 65 pounds, kind of the same size as me. This dude whacked me so damn hard. The strength that he had just rung my bell. And I was like, holy shit, I'll never do that again. That was stupid of me, thinking that I could go up against a guy, even though he was the same size as me. I'm sorry, they're stronger. And that's just the way it is.
And then from the athletic standpoint, just for fairness sake, for example, or logical sake, let's just throw
logical. There is no logic.
Why not 2 more categories of transition male to female and female to male?
What do you mean 2 more categories?
So you have the men's category, you have the women's category, and now you have the transition categories.
100%. That's the way it should be. If the transgender people want to actually compete in sports, they should have their own section. That would be fair. 100% that would be fair. I'm all for that. But don't put them in with the women. It doesn't work. It's not fair. They're winning.
As ice gets called the turf in the comment section from all of this. I found out what that term was like a week ago. And I was just like, I didn't even know what the hell this was till about a week ago. So now in riding the wave again and the success again, first of all, I love Zap, but I didn't realize that she was kind of like an undercover freak. Like all the dudes that like keep hitting on her and all the date, she's married now. So that's obviously off the table. But like back in the day, like how many guys were like after her and stuff? Like that was kind of cool to find out. Not only on
what do you mean an underground freak?
Like, yeah, it's always the quiet ones. Like it's always the quiet ones that have like all the secrets. Like, what do you mean? So who did you date? Famous, not famous? Like this person or that person? Like on your podcast, she was talking about stuff like that. Like who do I sell out or who do I keep it quiet with? I know Raye wasn't quiet. You're like all the quiet ones. Raye was far from quiet back in the day. No, she just makes herself look quiet now.
When we were on Gladiator. Exactly. She's far from quiet.
But she's a very sweet lady. Like I said, I met her a couple of times before and she was very nice. So
Zap is awesome. She's an amazing lady. She's got a lot going for her right now. I'm really happy for everybody.
Yeah. And then Diamond kind of like hid out of the limelight for a while because I think her daughter's a model, if I read correctly. And then
her daughter's beautiful. Yeah, I saw her on my podcast. She poked her head in. I was like, wow, that's your daughter. She's gorgeous,
And then she sent her home to keep her away from you. I get it.
Oh, shut up. It's not like I'm a cradle robber or anything, for God's sake.
She's over 21. That's not cradle robbing anymore.
Even though my girlfriend is 18 years younger. Look, I didn't have kids. Somebody's got to take care of me when I get old.
There you go. You got your own in-house nurse from now.
Thank you.
Yeah. So as things keep progressing and everything's on this upward trajectory, you mentioned in our pre-interview that you and Laser are doing a public appearance. Have you guys been contacted by like Arnold Classic or NPC or Legion Sports Fest or any of these places that would love to bring you guys in as an attraction again?
Well, it's funny because as you're listing them, I'm like, should I write these things down? Because maybe I should contact them. I apologize for my dogs. I'm so sorry. I've got like 4 of them, by the way.
At least you're not a cat person, so you're all right. Let me get the cat people against me.
The cat people are going to hate you. I'm
allergic. I don't care.
Are you really?
I am.
I have one cat, and that's why they're barking right now, because my girlfriend had to take my cat of 18 years old to the vet to find out what's going on with them. But anyway, where were we? Roxy. Chihuahua, by the way.
Public appearances
For the people
on the
who
bodybuilding
have dogs
convention.
and everything, everybody knows that a Chihuahua dog is like very, very yappy.
And then got scared of all the fireworks last night.
And you froze for a second.
Oh, I said, and then they got scared of all the fireworks
You
last
are
night.
frozen.
So are you. So there we go. You back?
There we go.
All right.
We're back. We're back.
And I was saying, and then they, what's it called? They all got scared of the fireworks last night.
Oh, my dogs are totally cool with fireworks. I don't know why.
Because it's usually the little yappy ones.
I know. I'm sorry. What was your question before that? Before my dog started barking?
Oh,
Do you remember?
I was asking about the bodybuilding conferences and the festivals.
Oh,
and
yeah.
stuff like
And
that.
that's what I said. I should be writing them down because my phone's not ringing off the hook yet. So maybe I should be contacting these people. Like I said, the documentary came out last week, and my social media is blowing up. My Instagram, my TikTok, which is awesome. My YouTube channel is growing really good. But at the same time, yeah, send me some personal parent people because I'm on it all day long. But yeah, I'm like, I got to get this thing going tomorrow, grab my list and start sending them out to everybody.
Yeah, because Fit Expo is coming back to Anaheim in August. They were just in LA a few months ago. So like,
yeah, exactly. I know. So it's just a matter of trying to really get in contact with these people and say, hey, we're here. We want to come to your show.
yeah, what would be great is like, by the way, go to like Fit Expo, Legion Sports Fest, all these places, Olympia, because you will never get so much free protein like you do at these conventions. Like they just like, we went to one and the Monster people, I don't have a sponsor for Monstership. I don't care. But like they were just handing out cans of protein shakes. And I was just like, dude, I don't have to go to the store for like 6 months.
And I remember when I went to the Fit Expo one year here in Los Angeles, I came back with this ginormous bag of like samples. And you're right. But you know what was interesting is I would say half of it were all these energy samples. And I was like, well, that's got to go. That's got to go. That'll give me a heart attack. That'll give me anxiety. But yeah, we're going to start contacting these people if they don't start, just as much as we possibly can.
I'm sure Nitro's on it. That guy talks to everybody.
Yeah, he does. But Nitro is Nitro. Nitro keeps to himself, so I'm sure if he gets anything, it's for him, to where it's kind of like, I'm sorry, but that's true. A lot of us, when we're doing personal appearances, usually they always want a male, female, or give us another gladiator. So I'm always, grabbing different gladiators and sharing the events that I get booked for. I don't think I don't know, maybe Dan does that. I'm not quite sure, but so far we haven't heard nothing from him. So
you should have just put him in body scissors and cracked his ribs on a date that never happened, and that would have been the end of it.
Yeah, that was solid. Yeah, that was interesting, and I love that in the whole documentary. She's like, oh my God, he fabricated this whole thing in his head.
But it sounds like you guys are still having fun, and the connection that you have with each other after all these years hasn't dissipated, and that seems what the most interesting aspect to everybody.
Well, and it is true. I think the documentary, now we actually did the filming for the documentary a couple years ago. So with that being said, it's kind of like we have all tried to keep in contact on some level, of what's happening in the industry, and what have you heard? What have you heard? What have you done? Can we collaborate on something? But what we really want that happened yet, and somehow we got to make this happen, is get all of us together and have a reunion in one room. This would be if one event could hire, like I know that there was a fan expo in Denver and they did a Saved by the Bell reunion. That's what they need to do with us. Somebody needs to hire all of us, bring us in for one reunion. It would be a cash cow, I think, because all of us would be sitting in one spot and they could have a program. And I even thought about actually doing this and going around the United States and putting this together, is grab all the gladiators and just do some of the events. And, I don't know, I think it'd be a great idea to have some type of reunion.
Oh, Let's put it in those fit expos and see what goes down with that.
I don't know if the Fit Expos is the actual right convention though. I think it would be more of what is called a fan expo, because the fan expos are the 90s expos. I think the fitness expos are more for the bodybuilding, the fitness, the physique, the bikini models, stuff like that. I don't think they'd be so interested in gladiators, to be honest with you. I think it'd be more of the fan expos or the Comic-Cons.
So like 90s Con itself, and then like
Yeah.
LA Comic Con and stuff like that.
Yes, 100%. That's our genre. That's where we need to go.
I dig it. Maybe 90s Con. That would be kind of cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So
All
it's
right.
just putting it together.
Since you are a woman of a certain age, yet still lifts like she's 23.
I love you.
Thank you. What one exercise per body part could you not give up?
Biceps.
No. For like each body part. So like you're stuck with one total body routine, and you have to do one exercise per body part. What is the one that you could never give up that has to fit in this routine?
God, I don't even know. One exercise per body part. What could I give up?
Yeah, like Mike O'Hearn, like if he does chest, his big thing is incline. So like he wouldn't give up incline. Somebody else wouldn't give up, flat band. Somebody else wouldn't give up decline. Like
I actually listened to your it's interesting. Sorry, I'm gonna segue for a second. I actually did listen to your Mike O'Hearn interview. I was gonna have him on my podcast. He looked like a hard interview. I don't know.
We had a hard out on time because it was the film producers.
Okay.
But Mike's a really nice guy.
Yeah, no, he is. I've been trying to get him on my podcast. Okay, so what can I give up? I don't know. I don't really care when it comes to all body parts, to be honest with you. The one thing that I could do without, let's go there for a second. If I never had to train legs again, I wouldn't. I mean, honestly, because legs take everything out of me. My favorite body parts to actually train are shoulders and arms. I don't train chest anymore, back, but yeah, I don't know if there's really one that I could, do without. I mean, I'm not that much of a stickler when it comes down to my workouts.
Okay. Because there are people that are like that. So that's why I always.
Oh, I know. Definitely. Like Mike O'Hearn people, for instance, 100%.
And Mike's a good guy. It's just that the producers had a hard out on the time. So we couldn't go even more in depth.
I see. Okay. Yeah. And I'm also trying to get Corey Collette on my podcast as well. I know him from the gym.
Oh, that's rad.
Yeah, he's a pretty big celebrity trainer and everything, and he looks awesome. And when I was working in Burbank, he goes, "I'll do your podcast. I promised you I would." And I said, "Thank you."
Now that you live in the
So
valley,
we get out on all the training. Pardon?
there you go. I was going to say, now that you live in the valley, is it easier to get more acting roles at this point? Because that's where the hub is, or are you trying to just worry more about fitness and being ice and having your own podcast?
Honestly, I love the acting industry. The acting industry changed so much when COVID hit. I mean, it literally changed the acting industry because every audition is on Zoom now. Zoom auditions suck ass. Every actor in the world will tell you they suck ass. I tried to do even acting classes online when COVID was here. That was a joke, So when it comes to, I love acting. I want to still focus on that industry. As a matter of fact, here's a small little story. I don't know if I've shared it too much, but I was auditioning quite a bit, all the way up until COVID hit. And I got an audition for Glow. And I waited for about a month and I called my agent. I go, what's going on? And he called me back the next day and he goes, okay, so here's the deal. They didn't want you for that particular role that you auditioned for, but there's another role for you that you're perfect for, and it's for a series regular. Are you ready to be famous again? I just lit up and went, are you kidding? Let's do this. I'm so excited. A week later, COVID hit and it shut everything down. And I kept waiting for, everything, all the restrictions to lift and all that. And they just, as you know, they just canceled the show. And I was so bummed because a person like myself, when it comes to acting, there are only particular roles. I'm not like the soccer mom next door that somebody's gonna, put on their series, but there are specific roles. I hate to say it, but like the roles that Gina Carano are doing. I could so easily do those roles, any kind of action movies, any kind of badass movies, put a gun in my hand or a knife or whatever, maybe. Those are fun. Those are fun roles. I could be the villain if need be. So acting is still a passion of mine. I still want to, I'm still trying to play in it, but the Zoom they're just so hard to do, the Zoom sessions. But my podcast, yes. Podcasting, absolutely found a passion for it. Love it tremendously. That's going to really seriously continue. And there's a couple things that are kind of happening that I'll talk about later if they happen. You know what I mean? Who knows?
Yeah, you got to keep up with those NDAs.
Right.
What would you tell 11-year-old Lori today, if you could, about what to expect in life?
Oh, be patient. I don't have a lot of patience. Be patient, be present, enjoy the ride. Don't stress too much because it's all going to work out. How's that?
I dig it. In the documentary Muscles and Mayhem currently on Netflix, the #1 docuseries, we got to keep plugging that.
Yeah, right.
There is a moment where Tower is talking about how he made a wish come true for a kid.
Oh my God,
just prior to passing.
Jesus, that'll bring a tear to anybody's eye.
Yeah. Have you had that level of impact on anybody?
I might have, but I've never been in that situation before. So I couldn't even speak to it. I'm sure that I've had some, I've heard stories. I've had people write me, on my email, social media, like, hey, this is what you did for me, being a little girl growing up, giving me the permission, to be who I wanted to be. Thank you. Things like that. Yeah. So I know I've had a great impact on certain lives, which is just, if you can contribute to life in any way, then you've done your job.
I dig it. I did want to ask you this, since we were talking about this just briefly. In modern film, when they make the female the strong woman, she's always posturing having to announce being a strong woman, and always has to almost like, you stupid man, you should know better. Yet with the Gladiators and with the women like you that I grew up with, like my parents are immigrants from the Middle East, so I've known strong people my whole life, and then you guys with your physicality and your builds and these bodybuilding builds and powerlifting builds, we never saw the women as less than. It's just that you were being able to be strong and sexy at the same time. How do we get back to that without the posturing?
I don't know if we can. Times have changed, I don't know if the world's changed so much. Hold on a second. April, grab Simon, please. He's in here crying. Can you hear him?
A little bit, but it's all right.
Too. Come get him, please. He's in here crying. He wants out. I know, that's okay. But I don't think we're gonna get back there. I don't see it, unfortunately. I think everything has changed, and it really, I don't know if it's changed for the better. The simplicity times, like we talked about briefly before, I don't think they're there anymore. I don't know.
Just because I think at some point, some catastrophe has to happen where men and women stop butting heads like this and go, okay, yeah, we actually need each other.
Come on. It's always going to be the male dominant world. It's the world we live in.
I don't understand that, but I'm saying like the constant butting heads of like,
yeah, I know that.
Right. But the hatred for each other is kind of has to die down.
Did you say the hatred for one another? other?
Yeah, because I see, like, this is Southern California. We see so many like men and women in relationships with each other, and they just hate each other, and it's this visceral cat and mouse thing.
I don't know. Isn't that just life? Unfortunately. I mean,
Unfortunately.
it's like I never read the book, but it's like, you know, men are from Mars, women are, you know, whatever that book was. And I think somebody probably hit the nail on the head. We're two different people. Our hormones are completely different. You guys think about, you know, what I'm going to eat. Got here. Sleep, eat, and who am I going to sleep with? You know, that's pretty much the three things on your mind, you know?
And how to make money.
Okay, we'll go there.
You know?
So what would you say the top thing a male thinks about on a daily basis? Is it food or sex?
Depends how old is he.
Okay, so we'll go from 0 to 50.
Okay, so now it has to be broken down a little more. So like, let's say, we'll say like 13 to 35, it's sex then food.
Okay.
And then like 36 to 50, it's food then sex.
Okay.
And that's while working.
Okay, and when does money come into play?
Money's always into play.
Is money
because
third?
You're using money to either try to get food or sex.
That's true. I love that. That's awesome. Yeah, you're either going to buy sex or you have to have the money to get the hot girl to have sex.
Right. You know, like I need the Corvette to get the girl that's going to sleep with me.
Exactly.
Or I'm hungry and I don't have the girl, but I got the Corvette and I'm going to go have dinner with my friends. So I need the money for food. Like
that's super cool. Well, think about how simplistic, the simplicity of that, you know. Now let's go to the female side. It's like
you guys overcomplicate everything.
Feelings. See, that's what it is. And that's why there's a constant this, you know what I mean? It's hysterical. It's just the way it is. You know, and like you just got to roll with it. You just got to roll with it. It's just something that happens. You just got to roll with it.
Like I saw this meme today and it's like male privilege. You know, you can wear the same suit over and over again. And, you know, no one harasses you for it, but women can't wear the same dress. And the response was, no straight guy on the face of the planet will ever care if you wore the same dress twice. That's other women getting mad at you for wearing the same dress over and over.
It is. It's funny. It's funny the way the world is.
Yeah.
You know, and there's some things you're just not going to change.
Right. And we don't care. We don't care.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think women are getting to that point, though, believe it or not. I think women get to the point of we just don't care.
Yeah.
You know, and that's really what it comes down to.
And I'm going to tell you one more thing on that, though.
Okay.
We don't notice when you trim your split ends. All right. Like you have to get a full-on haircut to go from like middle of the back to like where you are now at ear level for us to even notice. And most of the time we probably won't because we think it's in a bun or a ponytail.
That's funny. Now, are you a more of a man or a body man?
What?
What do you notice first on a female? Their body or their face?
Which angle? Are they walking away or are they walking towards me?
That's funny. Okay, I'll give you that. Because it does matter. You guys are simple. That's all it comes down to. It's just
we are, but like we also notice like how fashion somehow has become a political statement. Like glasses initially were like, I need glasses to see. And that's all they were there for. And now it's become this political statement of, oh, I have Wayfair rims with clear lenses. Clearly, you know what political side I am because I'm wearing a beanie too. And I'm like, really? Like,
okay, well, think about it. If you really want to go there, I mean, I was gay before it was cool to be gay.
Right.
Okay. Everybody, obviously, it's like, for some reason, there was a weird jump on the bandwagon to be gay.
But it happens every 20 years. Like it happened in the 70s, it happened in the 90s, and it's happening today.
It's just, it is the way that, yeah, you're right. The world goes into the cycle, into the roller coaster, and what was out is now in again, and it'll go out and it'll come back in again. You know, we don't have too much of imagination.
No, not really.
We just keep recycling shit.
In the 80s, we wanted the 50s. In the 90s, we wanted the 60s. In the 2020s, we want the 90s.
100%. That's really what it comes down to.
So it's just middle-aged people, you know, missing the bands that they listened to when they were kids.
We all want something we don't have, right?
Right. Well, you seem to have quite a bit, though. You got a girlfriend, you know.
I'm very content. You know, I don't have it all. Nobody has it all. I mean,
nobody has it all, but
I'm very happy. I'm very content with my life. Yes, I got an absolutely amazing, beautiful, wonderful girlfriend that I can't say a lot of people, they don't have what I have. And I know that, which is, I'm super thankful for, that I love. I mean, financially, I wish I could be better. I think everybody could, but I mean, you know, I have a beautiful home and everything is great. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, it'd be nice not to worry, you know? And I think that's a lot of people, and, you know, living within the means and, you know, things like that. So yeah, always striving to be better.
I dig it. Ice, I'm gonna let you go from the interview, but we'll stick around for a couple of minutes. You know, I want to chat just a little bit off the record.
Thank you.
All right. Or you can end up moving next to Dallas in Florida and like kicking back.
I've already lived in Florida. Screw that shit. I'm done with Florida.
Give people a reason to watch Muscles Mayhem this week to keep it at #1 going into week 2.
Oh my God, they're going to see so much. They are going to be transported back to when they were in the 90s, having a great time, whether they be at parties, whatever it may be, the nostalgia, they're just going to love it. There's so much action. There's so much behind the scene footage. Every single person that has watched it has sent me something like, oh my God, I absolutely love this. I had no idea, blah, 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 whatever that may be for them, you know? So definitely go and watch this. It is a great documentary. And listen to my podcast, Chillin' with Ice, because what happens is with Chillin' with Ice, I'm interviewing all the gladiators. I'm getting more in depth. So what you see on just kind of like the tidbit of the surface of the actual documentary, I get in a little deeper in my podcast. So that's where definitely listen to both.
And remind everybody about the Patreon, what specials they get with that, and what days do the new podcast drop.
So it's every Tuesday. My podcast drops, and it's across the board. Wherever you listen to your podcast, it's dropped. I do have my YouTube channel, Chillin' with Ice, and all of my podcasts are on video, so you get to see everyone. My Patreon, basically, it comes out. So in other words, if you're a real diehard Gladiator fan, boom, the Patreon, you get to see it a week earlier. So in other words, what's dropping on a Tuesday for my Patreons is a brand new podcast, but the public won't see it for another week. That's one of the levels of my Patreon. You get an autograph photo session. You get basically communication with the Discord with me personally. You get, the bonus. I actually do bonus episodes with the Gladiators. I do rapid fire bonus. So that's also on my Patreon. So if you get to, I believe it's the $9.99 a month level, you get to listen to all the bonus content with the Gladiators, and that's always fun. So there's so much more. There's so much on my Patreon. So yeah, check that out. It's Patreon/Chillin' with Ice.
I dig it. And then your socials, gotta follow you on TikTok, Instagram, and everywhere else.
And that is Lori, LORI.ice.Fetrick, and that's F as in Frank, ETRICK, or just type in American Gladiator Ice. It should pop up with all my socials.
Awesome. Lori Fetrick, also known as Ice, thank you so much for today. It was a long time coming, and I'm thrilled I finally got to chat with you.
Thank you so much for having me on. I know I gave you shit for not having me first, but it's okay.
Blame Dallas, because she said you wouldn't do it unless there was something to promote.
She's so full of shit. Look, I didn't promote anything. Oh, and by the way, I will promote something. I have a t-shirt line. It's called Ice T-Shirt. So it's ITEE shirts. Hell yeah, I'm going to promote that. I've got Chillin' with Ice t-shirts, and I've got my OG Gladiator hats.
I love it. Thank you so much, Ice.
You're very welcome. Thanks for having me on.